Hey there, I'm Cyndi Sweeney. Welcome to Simply Beyond, a simply good form podcast. I'm your host, a speaker, author, coach, and mama bear to a transgender young adult. This is a space for real stories and bold conversations that go beyond the binary, where lived experience leads and every voice matters. Whether you're here to learn, reflect, or feel a little less alone, you are exactly where you need to be. Let's dive in. Well, welcome to Simply Beyond and happy Pride. It is currently Halifax Pride Festival happening right now all over the city, and it's been a whirlwind of a weekend for us here at Simply Beyond. We are so excited because today's show is all about how to find joy in your physical form. Gender-affirming physio with heart, and I've got two incredible guests joining us today in studio. But first, I'd love to share a little bit about the past weekend. We were back to back with some incredible events. We had our name and gender marker change clinic that kicked off our Pride events, and we were hosted so beautifully at the Pink Piano Cafe and Lounge out in Lower Sackville. And if you haven't been there, you need to get on over there, not just for the coffee, which is amazing, the whole atmosphere, the vibe. It's a queer-owned establishment. The food was amazing. They were so kind and gave us platters of sandwiches, platters of sweets, and us, our team, Joss, myself, our fabulous volunteers, Peter and Susan from Dalhousie Legal Aid, and their interns. Also, a big shout out to Michelle, who came and helped us out, as well as Megan. It was just like a full on, heart bucket filling day, because it was really great just to meet so many awesome people from the community who are going through the process and being able to help them with their name and their gender marker change, which, if you have not gone through that, it is quite a process. It's not easy. There's many steps. So we do these clinics to help people along the way, but we also cover the costs. So we make it barrier free, and it's something that we especially love to do. And everybody walks away feeling like they've just been able to just do something that is really human, spiritually growing. So that was fabulous. We marched in the parade on Saturday, and then we were joined by drag queen Rita Book at our Halifax Pride picnic on Sunday afternoon. And thanks everybody who came out to that. A special shout out to Dawn and Mac, who have just moved here from New Brunswick. So welcome to your first Halifax Pride as locals. And to everyone else that came out, great families. Nikki, hello. It was great to see you again. And Rita Book, thank you so much for your fabulous storytelling. Okay, so let's talk about the show. We have two incredible guests joining us, and I just want to tell you a little bit about them. First of all, we have Amy Prescott. Amy uses she and Z pronouns. Amy is a resident physiotherapist working at Brickyard Health alongside Alexa Starrett, our other guest. Alexa uses she, her pronouns. So Amy earned her physiotherapy degree at Dalhousie University after taking a master in science. And prior to that, she was studying at Acadia University in Wolfville. Z was drawn to a career in healthcare because they really wanted to engage in direct patient care. Amy's interest particularly lies in pelvic floor physiotherapy, and it was sparked during her time working at the Halifax Sexual Health Center, Air Snaps, shout out to them, where she recognized a pressing need for expanded pelvic health practices. As a gender queer physiotherapist, Amy has been an advocate for expanding gender-affirming services within healthcare, drawing on her experience that she had with working with the broader community. And she has created some pretty incredible programming alongside her mentor, Alexa Starrett, who works with Brickyard Physiotherapy. Let me tell you a little bit about Alexa. We first connected back in the spring when I heard about the programming that they were offering and how they were breaking down barriers to gender-affirming care. Alexa is a cis white female physiotherapist with over a decade of experience in both orthopedic, and pelvic health care. And she's all about being an active ally to the 2S LGBTQIA plus community and is passionate about creating safe, inclusive spaces in a healthcare system that still has much to learn. And as we were joking about earlier, I totally agree with you, Alexa. And I love that you're taking an active approach with that. And I can't wait to join you shortly in studio. The programs they're offering include free webinars with a holistic approach around binding. And they want to make sure that you're doing it properly and what you can do to counter some of the adverse effects that can happen with binding. And we get into that a little bit there and talk about that programming. And then we're also talking about the free access to gender-affirming pre-op and post-op care that is available because people aren't talking about it. And if you're a person who cares for a loved one that is trans or non-binary, or you're part of the community, maybe you haven't thought about the amazing benefits that you can access here that, if you're going down that gender affirming care, you're in a pre-op mode right now, this is going to speed up the post-op. It's going to reduce your recovery time, help your body bounce back. And we're all about trying to support everyone in loving your body. Everybody deserves to love their body and feel good in it. And that's what these two wonderful human beings are all about. So let's dive in. I'm going to head into studio now. So welcome both of you to the show.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're very welcome. Before we dive in, Pride Festival, did you take in any of the parade or events this weekend?
Yeah, I was. I help not fundraise. I help run the Sexual Health Center parade. We're a walking group every year. So I organized that this year. Thankfully, I had a lot of costumes already made from last year, which was really helpful. And after that, I was a little tired, so I didn't get to do as much as I would have liked to do normally. But also just going forward for the week, we're also doing a movement class at Brickyard Health for 2S LGBTQ members. So that's upcoming. Alexa has the poster. She's pointing to it right now. So it's a busy week, but it's one of my favorite weeks to be in Halifax. It's awesome.
I love that. And I'll let you talk more about the poster and that afterwards, and we can upload it in the show notes too. Alexa, how about yourself? Were you taking in any of the festivities?
I was a bit down by kid nap time with my child during the parade, but my older child and myself and my husband live streamed the parade, and the little one woke up and we watched it all together. And when I'm not stuck by naps, I will certainly be there with them next year. So I'm really looking forward to getting them involved.
Oh, I think that's so great. Yeah. And little ones, they just love it. They love all the colors and the music
Yes.
and all of that.
Yeah, they loved it.
Yeah, it's so fun.
So your practice is, and I love this so much. You say it's rooted in compassion, education, and advocacy, aiming to support and uplift queer and trans clients with care that is both affirming and informed. And I think this is great for anyone listening then, maybe you're a trans person, maybe you're a parent of a trans person, a non-binary person, or someone you love is trans. So whether you're here in Nova Scotia or somewhere across the country, I think that these programs can be really inspiring, even if you can't avail of it here in Nova Scotia. It's something that you could perhaps bring to somebody in your community and also help spread the word. Maybe you know somebody that is doing it in your community already. So let us know. We would love to be able to share that out there as well to help build a network of great information that everyone can benefit from. So let's dive in. You launched your free physio services for trans folks earlier this year. About how many people would you have said would have come through the clinic so far?
Yeah, I think I've seen, and just to be specific too, this is actually the work we're doing at the Sexual Health Center. So I work part-time at Brickyard and at another clinic. And then my amazing mentors, Alexa is one of them. They've really helped me support and create this program at the Sexual Health Center to provide free gender-affirming care physiotherapy for members of the 2S LGBTQ community, which was kind of what I set out to do in physio. So it's amazing that we can do it this early. I think I've seen, since we started in January, I typically see about 6 patients a week, and a lot of those are return follow-up appointments. So I think I've seen 32 people so far. And again, that's just the beginning, but that's about where the numbers are at. It's exciting.
Let's hear a little bit more about what your programming looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this was really kind of like something that we had kind of been talking about at the Sexual Health Center for a few years, especially where we have so many patients who are either accessing gender-affirming care, whether that's hormone therapy or a gender-affirming surgery, or just accessing the medical health services in general that we offer at the Sexual Health Center. But we really saw this gap of either like pre-op and post-op care for people with surgeries, or just like the pain that people experience with general things throughout their life, or changes that happen with hormones, and how that can really impact a person physically. So it was something I was like, I feel like a physio could address this. I feel like this could be within the scope of physiotherapy, and specifically within pelvic floor physiotherapy as well. So that's really where the idea for the programming came from. And then I applied to physio school. Physio school let me in. And when I graduated, that was my first goal. I was like, okay, like I'm ready. I'm ready to be the physiotherapist here if the Sexual Health Center is still interested in that. And we have an amazing board who was able to just make it happen really quickly with the funding that we have access to. So what that looks like at the Sexual Health Center, it's a bunch of different things. Like I said, sometimes it's pre-op and post-op care for surgeries. I think that's the one that people think of a lot about. It comes to like the forefront of your mind. But I also think about like changes that happen to the body, especially when you were starting any type of hormone therapy. Estrogen and testosterone and progesterone, they have different impacts on how we feel in our body, and just like body composition changes, tissue elasticity changes. There's so much that happens with that. So it's that, but it's also, I think, a lot about like chest binding, just like the different postures and body mechanics and movements queer and trans people tend to adapt to day to day, and maybe some of the pain and discomfort that they feel with that living in a society that tells you need to be smaller, or you need to take up less space, or that you're not welcome here. So I sometimes have a hard time breaking it down, because to me it's everything. It's so encompassing of the physical form that you exist in. But I think that so it can be very broad, but it can also be very specific if you're undergoing a certain treatment.
Okay. Well, I love that. And as a woman that is in her 50s, and I like appreciate pelvic floor, physiotherapy, and everything that it has to offer. But I know also my son, who is a young adult now, really appreciates when I can discover programs like this, because it's not something that young people will often think about. And so I'd love to talk about like the pre-op piece right now, because again, it's something that people don't think about. We often hear how young trans people, there are barriers to physical activity, physical sports, and movement in those areas. And then for someone that maybe is undergoing hormone affirming treatment, and that how can physio specifically benefit them coming into this area, thinking of it as a pre-op service, or something they could be doing that's good for their body and helping them with the whole greater process?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay. I think it's certainly like the most important thing is like having a space for it, but like it's really the same principle with all surgeries. The more prepared your body is for it, the better you're going to recover. And so it's really just trying to provide like a foundation in a space that's like quite clear about what that means. And I think we'll probably talk about it later, but like part of like, obviously Amy's practice is the best thing ever, but part of trying to like put information out there and like some guidance about it is not necessarily that you have to see us, but here's a toolkit to help give you strategies to prepare and know how to manage things, not just the physical part, but also like what tools are helpful to have around. What does your support system look like? How do you know how much time to take off? Like it's kind of like putting the whole picture together, because like I think a lot of people think what we do as physios is just maybe like touch muscles, but like I think of us as kind of coaches, right? Like we're trying to put the picture together, and we're really well positioned for that we have like time and space in our sessions for people, but we're also educated across quite a broad spectrum. So it's trying to just really optimize your experience and your recovery, I think, is what the purpose of the pre-op piece is.
I love that. So it's really holistic. And so when someone comes in and you're helping them, you might give them exercises, is that right? But then you might have a nice area that you can show them how to do it. And it's a safe space where they can actually try out these different exercises and create some goals.
So, for example, if someone's been like already binding forever and they've never done physio, we would be like, well, here are ways to help learn how to like expand, because now things are going to be more compressed from like a scar and restricted tissue. But if I learn to have that movement and mobility first, that will be easier for me to recover from. And it's not that you shouldn't bind. It's like, here's a strategy to help supplement and improve kind of movement so that you're less uncomfortable after. That's an example, but there's lots of kind of vessels for that, I guess.
Yes.
I think, Amy, did I cover that?
Yeah. And when we're thinking about like whether it's top surgery, whether it's bottom surgery, I think sometimes because we don't talk a lot about pre-op and post-op rehab for these surgeries, we forget they're major surgeries. Like masculinization top surgery, like that is a huge incision. Most surgeries that we see in Nova Scotia, and typically at like the surgical center in Montreal, as well as the McLean Clinic in Mississauga, the plastic surgeon that we have here in Halifax, a lot of them are doing double incision surgeries, which like that is a major scar line. Whether it's breast augmentation surgery as well, that still is like a lot of stretch and a lot of pull to certain tissues. And then when we're thinking bottom surgery, these post-op rehabs are a lot more complicated. It's a lot more of an involved surgery, and so the better you can be prepared pre-op for that, the better outcomes you may experience. And again, I think that's one of the benefits of physio too, is that we do have longer appointments with you. We typically have like between like 30 minutes to an hour. So we can really talk about some of the other things in your life, like where are you going to put all your plates and cups so that they are easy to access? Who is going to drive you home from the surgery? And all these different types of things that you may not think about.
Yeah, it's great. Like, so being better informed. And then I think that idea of, hey, you could reduce that post-op recovery time so you don't have to miss school or work and that longer. You can get back to living and moving, but also reducing that discomfort, or, I don't like to say pain, but I'm sure like it's, if you can, like the stronger you are going into it, it's going to have a positive impact for you for sure. I love that. And so you talked a little bit about binding, and one of the free workshops that you have coming up is on binding. Can you tell me a little bit about like what the focus is there and what that looks like?
So myself, Amy, and a massage therapist named Shayna George are going to be running this. But the goal is primarily to just provide some education about things to kind of like watch for that could be a sign that we might need to make a change. It's nothing to do with not doing it. It's just, here are some general guidelines, and even if you're not following those, if this thing is happening, maybe you should seek attention. But it's trying to help provide, again, strategies, tools, exercises, guidance, even about different types of, like, it's really just to set education up and a place to find a resource of like, oh, this isn't good, I probably should pay attention to that, I guess. But that was phrased weirdly. Amy, could you follow that up? I guess that was very
and
good.
Where chest binding can be a really accessible way for a lot of people to have gender-affirming equipment or gender-affirming practices in their daily life. It's just something that we think about a lot, especially as pelvic floor physios. We always bring everything back to breath. That's like the number one thing we're doing, because our body's primary job is to breathe. And that is something Alexa says all the time. That's the body's number one job. So if it's getting any restriction in breathing, we're going to see maybe compensations in other ways. And then if we are chest binding, I'm somebody who chest binds myself. What are different strategies that we're doing day to day so that we can still have that affirming practice that feels really good to us, but we're limiting some of the negative effects that may happen to our body with chest binding? So typically it's like a lot of different movements, a lot of different stretches, really working on like fascial expansion of the rib cage, talking about like, what are we doing when we're taking breaks from binding? What are the recommendations? Because maybe people don't know them in the first place. I think a lot of people who are chest binding are pretty good at doing their research and have that knowledge already, but just in case, you never know.
And there might be some bad information out there too. Would that be right? Like,
Absolutely.
so it's
Absolutely.
getting the right information. And you made me just start breathing and taking a deep breath and
Deeper
like
breaths. Yeah.
slowly
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. And that's like, I think that's a big part of it is like, if we are doing things that maybe aren't like the best recommendations, what's the harm reduction strategy? How do we make that just a little bit better for people, even if they are going to be using 2 binders, if they are going to be binding for over 8 hours a day, if they are going to be sleeping in a binder, what are we doing to help give them something else that can help them get a little bit more oxygen into their bodies?
Another part that we tried to provide with the workshops that we offer is different practitioners. We always have a list of health professionals that are resources to reach out to. So whether that's physiotherapists, massage therapists, osteopath, psychologist, counseling, Reiki's on our list, acupuncture. Like we just are trying to provide like a list of providers that you are safe to see and to seek out help towards, because that's really important to know where to go, because it can be challenging to find those resources from Google.
absolutely. Absolutely. And are they varied then all around the province?
Unfortunately not at the moment. We're working on it, and we're like pointing it out to as many groups that we have available. For the most part, most of our list at the moment is in the HRM. But we are, we're trying to make sure that we are not just adding names. It is people that choose to reach out that are like, I am actively treating binding, or I'm treating gender affirming surgeries. Like we want them to choose to be part of this versus us just putting a name on a list. So it's slowly building over time. So hopefully it will expand more as time goes.
That's
I think a
great.
lot, like if you think about like the Trans Pulse data project that they released, I think last in 2019, we really see just how health disparities are augmented for our queer and trans people who are living in rural communities. And I think that that's one thing. A lot of our current healthcare providers are really set in HRM or within the regional municipality. But yeah, if you know of any other providers, if there's anybody who you recommend within rural places in Nova Scotia, please send them our way, because we would love to add them onto our list and be able to share that information.
And I think our emails will be in the show notes, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll put the show notes in. And then so is that like something that there's like a link to a map, or because it might change regularly, do you just share a PDF or?
We're not that fancy with a map yet, Sin, but we do have an ongoing Google Doc that myself, Amy, and Shayna all have access to, that we're continually updating. Every time we run a workshop, we're sending out an updated list, and our workshop handouts are at the Halifax Sexual Health Center, as well as Venus Envy. And I believe you have copies now, Sin. I think we sent them to you.
Awesome.
So
okay.
we're
I might be able to
trying
help
to.
out with the maps. I like to play around with Google
Ooh,
Maps.
yes.
So you never
Make us
know. That could be a fun
fancy.
project.
Make us fancy. We would love that. But yeah, so we're trying to kind of continually update it. It's an ongoing kind of continual updated.
So if you're a parent and a caregiver, you're probably not necessarily availing of the sexual health center so much, because you might be being seen by the IWK Trans Health team here. So for a parent and caregiver to find out about this information, are you finding so far that do you have any young people that have come through for your services yet? Or is it predominantly like above 18 older?
Yeah, within the sexual health center, I have actually seen a lot of really young people. I think that really speaks to the historical context of the Halifax Sexual Health Center, where it has been a spot that a lot of people who, whether they are young, whether they are more vulnerable, just like unable to access resources in like our healthcare system otherwise, they know they can go to the sexual health center. So with the like historical context of the sexual health center, I think it's one of these locations, especially within our healthcare practices, where people who are younger, people who are not able to access other healthcare services otherwise, typically know historically they can go to the Halifax Sexual Health Center to access care. So I do see quite a few teenagers who have self-referred to me, which has been very rewarding. That was exactly what I was hoping would happen when we started the program. A lot of teenagers who are doing our chest binding with maybe not the recommended practices, but it's a really exciting opportunity to be able to talk to these youth and provide them different strategies or different things they can do just to kind of help. Okay, if we are going to be binding for over 8 hours, what are certain stretches that we can do in the meantime when we take the binder off?
Right. I love that because I have a mom that was actually asking me, and she's probably going to be reaching out to you shortly after this show goes live, who has a young trans teen with scoliosis. And so she's
Mhm.
worried about the impacts of hormones, testosterone, and then the growth
Yeah.
spurt and all that with the scoliosis. Should she be worried? Like, what would you say?
Yeah, especially like with not, I don't think she should be worried, but I think she has the right idea of thinking ahead about things. Especially with scoliosis, typically we might suspect like an underlying hypermobility within this person. And that scoliosis can really change over time. And as we see with menopause, that scoliosis can really change with fluctuations in with hormones in the body. So it's something that I don't think it needs to be like a significant worry or concern. But definitely something that it'd be nice to kind of get somebody to take a look at and be able to kind of monitor over time so that if changes do start to happen, sorry, my cat is also
Oh,
the biggest baby.
we love cats. You have a little
Yes, we
black cat there.
do. She's an angel. But if we do see changes over time, with the scoliosis, then it can be nice to have a physiotherapist or another healthcare provider keep an eye on this so that a lot of scoliosis, it can be incidental. It doesn't really impact us day to day. But again, with changes in our life, with changes in hormones, we might start to see some changes with that as well.
And being preventative rather than reactionary is probably always
Exactly.
better.
What can happen with scoliosis as well is like it might not be that severe, but because it's something that our body kind of like leans into over time, and if we're not paying attention to it, like we can adaptively kind of shift more compensatorily into it. That's not a word.
Mhm.
But if we're
Yeah.
aware of it and we're paying attention early and we're aware of like the biases in our body, we can kind of offset that and like maintain that baseline versus like furthering it than we need to, as you can see me shifting to pretend I'm into a
Mhm.
scoliosis. But yeah, it's a very I think it's very smart of this mom to get on top of it and do it early, because then that can help prevent any issues in the future. But it also is magic to do it with a physio who is familiar with binding practices and like the effects of those on it. So that's very smart to get on top of it for sure.
I love that. When is that workshop, and is it virtual or is it in person? How does that work?
They're always virtual, at least,
Mhm,
but there's usually in person, because we don't have a date set at the moment, but we usually run them out of Venus NV.
mhm.
But we've been chatting with you about offering them on your platform as well. So hopefully we will do both by the fall for the binding
Yeah,
specifically.
absolutely. And we can set something up because I think it'd be great. That way, if you have it virtual and somebody can't make it, they can still log in and watch the recording and find it helpful and then reach out to you afterwards. So,
Mhm.
absolutely. Hmm.
The in person is
Again,
fun because we can practice the exercise and stuff, and a little bit of community and like meeting others and everything. So it's nice to have the option for both for sure.
yeah. But
Hmm.
especially for our rural people and our people in Cape Breton, the virtual option, I like that blended model for the reason because having the virtual option means that they can access that care in the first place too.
So that's great. And so when we do that, then we would make sure that they have Zoom and they have lots of space because we can actually like do the exercises while we're like
Yeah.
hanging out with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I love that. That sounds fun. And so tell us, you told me a little bit about what inspired you to get into this kind of work, but offering it free, so the barriers are pretty real out there. How does it work? So if somebody comes in and they need a particular number of sessions, like how often are you offering them, and what's the wait like? How do they get on the list? How do they connect with you?
Yeah. So to book an appointment at the Sexual Health Center, you just give us a phone call. Our phone lines can be difficult to get through, which is something that we know about. We have 5 phone lines that are just constantly ringing all the time, which I think, again, really shows the need for this type of care in the community. My advice is just keep calling. Eventually, you will get through to our amazing administrators. And you just ask to book a physio appointment. You can self refer to the clinic. You don't need a doctor's note. You don't need a note from another healthcare provider. If you have anything within like kind of the sexual health umbrella, and to us LGBTQ falls under the sexual health umbrella for better or worse. But you can self-refer to me. Right now we're doing 3 appointments. So I'd see you for 1 initial assessment and then 2 follow-ups. I'm not leaving anybody in the lurch though. So if you need to be seen for more appointments, that absolutely we can make that accommodation. Um, And right now, there's kind of like a 4-week wait list approximately. It does move pretty quickly, so it's pretty accessible at the moment. And then hopefully we'll be looking to increase that the availability of those appointments as the demand increases as well.
And always go on Amy's cancel list.
And yes, always on my cancellation list.
Go on the wait list.
Go on the wait list. Yep, that's no problem.
Yeah, I always say that to everybody, even if it's a hair appointment, people always cancel. There's always something that comes up, right? So get on the cancellation list. Okay. Well, that's great. So to try, and we'll put the phone number in. Do you want to say the phone number here too? So the line for people to call would be?
Yep, it's the phone number is 902-455-9656. You can tell I was a former administrator at the Sexual Health Center, and that phone number is burned into my mind.
That's funny because I just assumed that you knew it off by heart, and I shouldn't have.
No, that's good. It's all good.
So is there anything else though that you'd like to share with us? Because I feel like this has been really, really helpful. And like I know, like I said, for me, I've got a young adult who is, wrapped up right now in school and work. And that's often, when they might, if they're interested in, when physio for say pre-op could become quite beneficial to people. Yet he would never do the homework to try and find like this kind of program. And I hear from a lot of parents that it's the same thing. So it's good, for parents to hear about it. But maybe like you could recommend for trans women and trans men, maybe a couple of top 2 things that they, might want to consider doing, or that could be an easy start for them.
But it's very individual.
Period. Okay.
It's individual, like person to person. It's completely different. Like my answer to everybody is it depends, because every body is different, regardless of having had the same surgery. You might have like a completely different restriction. But like the vaguest overview that I would give, as Amy would probably guess, is that I would choose to do some breathing, and and specifically probably 360 breathing or diaphragmatic breathing. Please see our handout from the workshops if you're curious what that is, or YouTube it. But there's a lot of information about like particular breathing strategies, and this helps for like 800 different reasons other than keeping us alive. It helps to expand our rib cage, which helps our core muscles to move. It helps to downregulate our nervous system, helps take pressure out of our neck. Like there's 8 million different reasons it's helpful. But if I'm going to choose one thing for anyone to do, that would be it. And secondly would be to find support, period. Whether it's friends, family, mental health support, like resources behind you, because those are probably my top 2 things that I would say if I gave anyone homework to do. But if you, the other part that can be helpful is Amy and I both offer free consultations out of Brickyard Health. You can just come in or call us, and they're free 15-minute consultations. So even if you're like, I don't actually have the funds to come in, we can at least help guide you and, troubleshoot individual questions at least. And, I think it's really helpful too, because I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. Maybe it's like you get to test me and see if I'm a good fit for you, and that helps. Or you can just ask me a couple questions and I can like direct you to what's helpful. But support of some sort would be the other answer. Yeah.
That is great advice. Okay. So support and breathing, and we'll look up your download, because we have one of those. It's kind of, it helps with anxiety, and it's kind of a sandpaper style figure 8. And it talks about how long to breathe in and how long to breathe out. And it's great. We give them out in our workshops. And I think, because sometimes it's not intuitive.
No, and ours is a bit nerdier about like what is moving versus timing. So we're a bit lame like that. But
nerdy's great.
Yours is probably funner.
We care about it a lot. We care about breathing a lot. Yeah. And I think that it's also just with like not being able to access physical activity, or maybe not feeling welcome in spaces where other people would typically be engaged in team sports, or be engaged in a sport in general, or just different hobbies that involve physical movement. I think we really see that within the 2S LGBTQ community. But But there's so many amazing resources, so many different groups, not even just in the city, but even in more rural spots of people who are engaging in activity in different ways. And just knowing that your body, like, it deserves to move. You deserve to feel good in your body. However you move, you don't have to be good at it at all. And there's no such thing, in my opinion, as being good or bad at moving. So I think for me, finding breathing, number one, a lot of good breathing. And then secondly, just finding something that makes you feel good in your body, especially where we exist in a society that often tells us that our bodies are wrong or that we shouldn't exist the way that we should. Finding something that makes you feel good for your physical form and how you physically are present today, I think is very important.
Kudos to that. I'm giving you air snaps. I love that. And I just love how passionate you both are. And we need more, more organizations like you who have really like taken action. You've taken your passion and what you want to see happen, and you're making it happen for community members right here. So it's so great. And I hope that you'll be an inspiration for others, like right from coast to coast to coast. It would be great.
Amy is an inspiration. We're very proud of Amy for launching a public service. That's really a very big deal. So it's big kudos to Amy, and keep watching.
But again,
there's more coming.
I wouldn't have been able to do any of it without the support, the work that Alexa had already put in. That's how I found Alexa in the first place, was I was aware of the programming that she had been running already. And then when I was like, please let me be a physio with you, like, please let me work with you. Please let me run a program at the Sexual Health Center. So again, we're all on the shoulders of giants at the end of the day.
Well, you're a dynamic duo, and it's true, like, you've got the ideas and everything, but we need the support. You need the support. And, it does take like somebody listening, an employer listening and engaging and going, okay, like, we can make this happen. We can, let's figure it out. Let's be open to the magic. So thank you so much. And if there's anything else you'd like to add, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. And I can't wait to get it out there quickly so people can tune in and avail of everything that's happening this summer.
I'd like to add one more piece, which isn't advertised and won't ever be advertised, but Amy and I both offer sliding scales at Brickyard Health, because we do want to, the free program is outstanding, and we're so grateful for Amy for facilitating that. But again, like, if we get to the 3 appointments or it's hard to get in, if you do happen to have coverage, like, we do our best to try to accommodate here for those who need help and support. So our emails are so always reach out. Like, we will do our best to figure out a way to help you if you do decide to go the private route. So please contact us if you need anything.
That's amazing. So Alexa Starrett and Amy Prescott at Brickyard Health. And we will have everything in the show notes, and more to come then on this upcoming virtual webinar that is going to be happening in, let's say, September. And now it has to happen. So there it is. We said it, so it's happening.
It's happening.
Watch this space. We'll put it out. You'll put it out, and it'll be wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for all the work you're doing too, Cyn.
Yes, thank you.
It fills my bucket. It's good. And I love meeting, I just love connecting. It's great. It's wonderful. Thanks for listening to Simply Beyond. If today's episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, or leave a review. Your support helps amplify voices that matter. You can follow us at Simply Good Form on social, or visit simplygoodform.com to learn more. Until next time, keep showing up, speaking up, and leading with love.